You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Monday, May 19th. The 49er fans of the world had maybe one of the best weekends that we've had in quite some time. And then it was followed up by one of the best Mondays that we've had in a long time, because we've got some great news to celebrate and talk about today. And that is the extensions of Brock Purdy and Fred Warner. They both happened and got finalized within, span of a couple of days. And for that, we are very grateful. And I'm also very grateful today to talk to my Monday co-host here, Weston, and break down this news. Weston, how are you feeling?
I paid her to say how excited she was to talk to me about this tonight. I am fired up. I'm gonna put it to you like this, Steph. It's Monday evening. News just dropped a couple hours ago about Fred. Obviously, Brock over the weekend. A lot of excitement in the 49er world right now. We're competing with a lot of your other favorite content creators out there right now that are probably doing shows around it. So I'll say this. If you're not here tonight listening to this show, you're doing yourself a disservice, because we're going to get after it and we're going to talk about our beloved 49ers and what these extensions mean, what the combination of everything that took place this offseason. I'm pumped. I know you're pumped. That's how I'm feeling about it.
Let's go.
That's
all right.
it.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone that's tuning in with us, because, everyone is excited about this news, rightfully so. Everyone is going live, dropping emergency pods. We love it, all right? So this is just another one on the docket. Appreciate everyone that's tuning in. Before we get into the Brock Purdy contract, that's the big one, right? Let's talk about the Fred Warner one. As we know, that one dropped today. So Fred Warner gets a 3-year extension, which tacks on to the deal he already had in place. So he signed through 2029. Total value of that $63 million. Average annual value AAV $21 million. Guaranteed money $56.7. That's a big chunk of the total value of this deal, and he's now the highest guaranteed percentage ever for an inside linebacker. Wow. I mean, Fred Warner gets paid. I mean, we know that he is very much deserving. He's been the best in the league for quite some time. That's really not debatable at this point. And so now he gets paid like it. Again, this is now the second time, Weston, that he's, jumped up to be the highest paid linebacker in the league in his 7-year career. Yeah. Pretty good.
It's funny you say the second time, because I was on my walk up here upstairs, and my wife was like, look, we're really all excited about Fred, and I know you're going to give him your love, but this is Brock Purdy's day, right? So don't take too much away from Brock. That's what she says to me as I'm walking up the stairs, and I can't disagree with her. Look, I mean, the dude's nickname is all pro Fred, right? Like, he's the best in the business. We saw him play at a really high level last year, despite the injuries and despite everything that was slowing him down. We knew this day was coming. We knew Fred is one of those guys that just feels like he's going to be a San Francisco 49er for life or for his career. This deal just kind of builds momentum around that thought process. I'm just more pleased that here we are, and we'll talk about this throughout, but it's May 19th. And these big contracts that usually tend to linger are a wrap. Like, they're a wrap. Like, there's just nothing else to talk. I mean, part of me is a little upset. What the hell are we supposed to talk about for the next 6 to 8 weeks before camp? My God, we might have to go on vacation or go touch grass, as you love to say, Steph, because, like, what else is there? But awesome stuff. So deserving of it. I don't think there's a single 40. We'll get to what the visceral looks like when we talk about the next player, but I don't think there's a single fan right now that is upset about seeing Fred Warner get extended.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, to your point, for the 49ers to get all of these deals done, there was the Kittle, there's the Purdy, and the Warner. May 19th. I mean, that is incredible. It's not even OTAs yet. That doesn't happen till May 27th is when that kicks off. So this is a really big deal for them to get this done. And let's not forget, Fred Warner had, I think, was it 1 year or 2 years left on his deal. So the fact that they when to prioritize this, I think tells us it kind of underlines what their plan was for the offseason, which was, as we know, continue to, for the players who have always been the best and have always showed up and, have been at the top of their game and have been reliable. Those guys are going to continue to get paid and going to be in the good graces of this team. And it's almost like they kind of shifted away from the players that maybe proved to not be so deserving of some of the contracts that they had gotten. A lot of those, like maybe in free agency or, just as, didn't really play to the level of the draft picks that they got them at, et cetera, whatever you want to call it. But Fred Warner is one of those guys, like Kittle as well, who has shown up. I mean, look at the games played from 2018 to 2024, just a model of consistency there as far as his availability. We always talk about availability is the best ability, and that's not the only ability that Fred Warner has, as we know. I mean, he has just torn it up in the league, 4-time first-team All-Pro. And again, the best at his position. It's been that way for several years now. And I see no end in sight for Fred. So really excited about him being a Niner. Is it safe to buy the Fred Warner jersey now?
Yeah. I think you're golden because I think even if something happens, like there's enough history behind it to say the validation of that purchase, right? Like it's almost buying a throwback if something happened. I love what I love about the Fred Warner piece is like whenever we're talking about people like Fred or even people like Kittle, it's just we can sit here with such confidence and talk about how they're the best in the league at their position and what their business is, right? Being a linebacker, being a tight end. And that's not just a 49er homer opinion. That's like a league-wide opinion, right? So you're sitting here comfortable, feeling like we're locking up the guys. I'm loving, and we'll talk more about loving what the 49ers. I don't want to say loving. I'm enjoying what the 49ers are doing this offseason. There seems a lot of logic to it. If you look around the league, this is what the good teams do. You reward the ones who have lived up to the previous contracts. Yep. You reward those who are the face of your franchise, and you keep a core. And, that core will shift 5, maybe 6 years later, but you keep your core. Like, look at Kansas City Chiefs, right? It's Mahomes, it's Chris Jones, it's Travis Kelce, core, right? Now it's Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Fred Warner, core, not to mention the other contracts that they put out there. It's, I just like the way they're stacking the deck in their favor right now. And again, I don't specifically on this Fred notion right now, don't know a 49er fan who would be upset about it. And I don't want to forget this point. I almost think I want to write it down because I don't want to give away too much early. I think this is like something we'll talk about like when we're talking about like the overall offseason. But there's a common theme that I'm seeing in all three of these big contracts and these extensions that I'll definitely want to discuss. But I'll leave it at that. A little teaser to come back to us if you navigate away.
Now I'm very curious, but we'll wait on it because I'm
writing it down so I don't forget because that's how my brain works sometimes.
I also see a common thread between these three players, and it's not just the one that we've been talking about, that these are guys that have shown up. They have deserved to get rewarded. Yes, that was the word I was looking for earlier. Taking care of these players is a big thing. And this should be a reminder to everyone around the league that the 49ers still have a very strong core, Weston, because everyone's freaking out and everyone's talking about, the 49ers have fallen off, like all this stuff. And I get it, 6-11, that's a very disappointing season. We all know that, but they did what they needed to do in order to, cut their losses and, get back to winning football. One thing in order to do that is you have to keep that core, right? Yeah. I mean, because it's a good core. It's not like it's a aging. Well, it is an aging core, but it's not one that seems to be on the decline. When we're talking about Kittle, when we're talking about Fred Warner, I don't see a decline in sight for those players. So you got to continue to pay them. They got to continue to be part of this team. And I'm very happy that they've gotten these deals done. And I also think as far as like the fan base goes, we're all really down in the dumps about how the season went.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a morale boost, right? For us, I'm sure maybe in the locker room as well, to see some of these guys get these deals. And as we've been saying for, maybe the last month or so, the vibes are in a good place, Weston. They really are with this team. And they just shot through the roof after this weekend and the extensions that have taken place this offseason. So to me, that's a huge win. But let's talk about the biggest deal, Weston, of the let's go. The biggest deal. Woo. I mean, and that's why I wanted to talk about the Fred one first. No,
for
no
sure.
shade of Fred. I mean, in his own right, like that's a big deal to get that one done. But we were waiting on this Brock Purdy one, right? And this is his first career extension in the NFL. Everyone knows the backstory. I don't have to tell you all why this is significant, I think, from a personal standpoint for him. 5-year extension for Brock Purdy. He's signed through 2030. Total value of this deal, $265 million. AAV, average annual value, is $53 million. Total guarantees, $181 million. Fully guaranteed at signing, $100 million. And I believe that gets spread out, or the signing bonus gets spread out in 3 installments. First 3 years, he's going to get a heck of a lot of money and throughout the course of this deal. But I think what everyone was concerned with the Brock Purdy deal when we're hearing about this negotiation and the quarterback market is like, where exactly does Brock Purdy fit? Where is he going to land when it comes to this? Does he deserve to get paid, 60 million, 55 plus million, right? Yeah. And I think when you look at it, team accomplishments, I'm sure his representation was looking at that and say, hey, this is what Brock Purdy did, in his career. And it was pretty damn good. So I'm sure they made that argument. And it was they had every right to, I think. But I am so happy, Weston, with where this number landed. And again, we don't have the final full details of this contract yet. But the AAV at $53 million, to me, is already a huge win for this Brock Purdy deal.
It's so wild. So I'm just going to ask you to bear with me. I have no idea where I'm going to go because once my brain starts firing, we just go. Mouth just follows. But the reality is like, weren't we told for the longest time that it was going to be $60 million a year and that Brock's not worth it and yada, yada, yada. He's going to become the highest paid quarterback in the NFL because that's what happens, right? Just next man up. This just feels judicial. Like you look at it, okay, 8 overall for the guy who just most recently got paid. Job well done, 49ers front office, right? I think team wants to point, or people outside and even the Niner fans that are actually Niner haters, but they are Niner fans. They're just negative people to begin with, which every fan base has for sure. Want to tell you this is too much. And it's really not. I had a lot of people, Steph, reach out to me that are not 49er fans being like, well, I wouldn't have paid him. I would have made him play another year under the contract. Things that we talked about on the offseason that, yes, on paper, that's logical. And of course, when you're not a fan of the team, you can sit there with no emotion and say, make them play out. But we really always knew that was never going to be an option. It was going to either find a trade partner, right, or pay the man. Those were going to be the two things that were probably going to be the ultimate outcome. The argument they wanted to make is, why'd you pay him so much money? There's not actually any other quarterback in that realm who's going to be due for a contract of that size. And it's like, okay, the term was you're competing against yourself. Okay, fine. So by their logic, we let him go play a year, right? And even if he has a good year, not even a great year, just a good year, now you're competing against the rest of the league because he is a free agent under contract, right? So it's not your number. It's not your control. What this would do to the locker room if they had to go through yet another quarterback controversy and then go find that guy or transition to Mac Jones. This just made too much sense for it not to happen. The win is on your screen right now. 8, right? Like we said before, the most recently paid quarterback, and he's the 8th highest contract in the National Football League right now. In a year, that's going to be a bargain. Like, it's just what it's going to happen, right? He's going to be 15 on this list in the next 18 months. Like, so all signs point to like W here. I do want to point out something that's just absolutely crazy. So the $165 million that he's going to make guaranteed over the first 3 years of this contract, if you were the average American or the average American household, maybe making somewhere in the means of $200,000 annually, it would take you 825 years to make what Brock Purdy's going to make in 3 years, which is asinine. But they did it smart too. We've seen this from the 49ers. This is 3 years with outs, right? Call it 5 years, call it 7. I don't care what the hell you call it. It's 3 years with outs. What'd you notice about? I told you I was going to come back to this. What'd you notice about Fred Warner's contract? 3-year extension, right? On top of the 2 years, bulk of that money is all going to be paid up front. So what are the 49ers telling you? We are committed to the next 3 years around our core and building from the draft while we have affordable talent around the rest of the core. This is logic. This is literally what we've been screaming that they should be doing over the last 2 seasons. And it's here, Steph. It's here. And I said this all along, and I'll be the first to admit it. I am not like this Brock Purdy praiser, right? Like, I do not have these delusions that he's the best quarterback in the NFL or even the top 4 or 5 quarterback in the NFL at this moment. What I know is based on all the information that was put out in front of you, this was the best decision you could make for your franchise. Jed York, congratulations. You did it. You did it well. With every big contract, there's going to be haters, and there's a lot of haters around the Brock Purdy contract right now, but I'm here to tell you from a National Football League business perspective, this is a win. And this is an even bigger win for Brock Purdy from Mr. Irrelevant to $265 million. Hey, right here, Brock Purdy, cheers to you, sir. Get that bag. Go ball out. We're behind you, dude. Congratulations, man. I don't even know what else to say. Congratulations.
I mean, no, seriously, like, good for him. Like, he got married. Was it this offseason he got married?
Marriages are expensive, Steph. You'll find out.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of personal accomplishments for Purdy. Sure. And look, honestly, if he got $55 million per year, I don't think a lot of us would even be upset with that, because that's what the market is for a lot of these guys, right? And let's just, for the audio listeners, let's look through here what the market is right now for everything else. Dak is sitting by himself at 60 million. Then you got like 4 guys at 55 million: Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, and Josh Allen. I think you look at, Josh Allen, maybe the most accomplished quarterback as far as personal stats go for him, right? At 55 million, I think that's a pretty good deal for the Bills, honestly. And Joe Burrow is pretty good as well. Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, I think those come with a lot of projections, right? And so when you look at those 2 guys, I think you could have said to yourself, hey, maybe Brock Purdy does fit in the 55 million conversation. Sure. Maybe. Sure. And so I was mentally prepared for that. It really was. And then after that, you got Tua, who's getting 53.1 million. Surely Brock Purdy is better than Tua, right? Like, he's got to be, right? So then again, you say, okay, maybe Brock can get 53.2. Maybe he could get 54 million, and that would be a fair average per year for him. Then you got Jared Goff at 53 million. At his age, that's a pretty good contract. Like, Goff has been in the league for a long time now. And so again, like, for the 49ers to be paying the same to Purdy as the Lions are paying Goff, the 53 million, at least an average per year. Again, we talk about average per year being kind of like this illusion, right? It's just what makes the contract look good. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind as well, because when we get those final numbers, this deal is going to look even better from the team standpoint, right?
Yeah.
So think about that. We're talking about him being 8th overall in this contract market. right now, that's already a bargain. Like you were saying, in like a couple years, 1 year, this is going to look like a bargain. It already kind of looks like a bargain, Weston.
I 100%. I'm in full agreement with like, looks good to me on paper right now, right? Like
It'll only look better when we get those final numbers. Like I absolutely believe that. And oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just people want to talk about like, all right, who gets the most credit for the wins? Quarterback. Who gets the most credit for the losses? Quarterback, right? Even though it's a team statistic. Look at this top of this list. What has Dak Prescott done to accomplish his $60 million outside of individual statistics? Nothing. Has Joe Burrow won the Super Bowl? No. He's been in it. Hasn't sniffed back since. What's Trevor Lawrence done? I mean, people are still debating like if he was worthy, you know what I mean, of this extension, even though I do still actually personally believe Trevor Lawrence is a hell of a quarterback. He's just in a death trap known as the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he's still young. Jordan Love, right? Okay. Brock Purdy's beat him, right? Like, even when the games mattered the most. Josh Allen's the one that's the outlier to me. Like, I do. He should definitively, in my opinion, be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. But here's why he's not. Because they keep extending him. They never let it get to the end of the contract. So that guaranteed number, I know we hear that word guarantee, that never actually really happens. Because if you're getting close to it, you just rework the contract again. And then who cares about the annual value when it's like, oh, you just reworked me for a third time and you're about to put $100 million signing bonus in my pocket? Okay. You know what I mean? Like, big deal. I could be in the middle of this pack. I'm not losing any sleep over it. Jared Goff, journeyman, congratulations. He deserves all this. Herbert, Lamar Jackson, people like, how's Brock Purdy going to make more than Lamar Jackson? Brock Purdy is a product of playing for a really good football team, and he's not really good himself. Really? Last I checked, Lamar Jackson plays for a damn good football team and still hasn't sniffed the caliber of games that Purdy has in terms of like on the grandest scale, the conference championships, the Super Bowls, right? The things that he's accomplished. You can't take that away from him. You bring that guy with that winning pedigree, who, by the way, is still only 25 years old, right? Like, it's still a baby when it comes down to it. Like, Steph, I don't want to get so overly, but that's what I am right now. Like, I just am, because I'm overly excited because we were told this entire time that the 49ers were messing around. This was going to take forever. They're going to do what they always do and just give the player everything that he wants. I think both sides got everything that they wanted out of this conversation. And you know what's really awesome about that is like not being in contention with the most important position on your team months before the offseason truly begins. Like, it's hard not to be excited about not just that and happy for Brock, but like, are the 49ers turning a new leaf on contract negotiations? Like, to me, does my eyes deceive me? I don't know what's happening.
Who is this team? This team?
It's not the team I root for.
To me, that's the biggest win of all this, because yes, we knew this deal would get done eventually, but when it happens in like late August, beginning of September, you're like, okay, well, finally. It's a different feeling. It's just like, okay, it's exhausting. Like, you're not even that excited anymore. You're just like, okay, cool, we can move on now. Mm-hmm. But like now, the biggest win, in my opinion, is the fact that they got this done in May. Like, you could put all of this behind you, and we knew it was going to be important for them to get this done early, at the very least before training camp. Like, we had a feeling they weren't going to mess around with it. They tend not to when it comes to quarterback contracts, which, you mentioned the possible outs of this contract. Yeah, the 49ers always have outs strategically placed, and it'll probably be after the first 3 years of this deal. And, one thing that came out, I think it was yesterday, is that Brock Purdy has a no trade clause. So that wasn't previously reported, but now we know for the entirety of this contract, he's going to have a no trade clause. The reason that I don't freaking care about that, like, who cares, is because the no trade clause doesn't mean much. All it means is, like, I think people see that and think, wow, he's not allowed to get traded. wow, you're dumb. Like that's what the reaction I've seen from other fan bases, right? For one, I don't care what other fan bases have to say about this deal. I think it's a great deal.
Yeah.
And two, I think obviously they still have the option to trade him, but it would have to be Purdy given the okay. Like basically that's all it means. He could get traded, but as long as Purdy gets to give the thumbs up on where he gets to go, it basically just says he has control of where he goes. That's it. It doesn't mean he doesn't get traded ever.
If you want the no trade clause to matter to me, I want to know who was insistent upon it, right? Like, and how hard they
it had to have been Purdy's camp.
It had to, but like to your point, it's just language in a contract, right? Like, if you're at the point where you're contemplating trading your starting quarterback that is sitting on this massive contract, probably means the relationship's fractured, probably means that player wants to get out, right? So they won't fight you on the no trade situation. Yeah. Like, why would Jimmy G want to still be here, right? Like, I wouldn't want to be here if I was him either. So if you got to that point where you're even having that talk, I don't think the player is going to fight you. But I do like the sense of a no trade clause if it's something like this final caveat that Brock's people and Brock wanted to have in the contract, whatever. If they're pushing is because, like, it just speaks to his mentality. I ain't going anywhere, right? And if you want me to go somewhere, you got to come see me first, right? I just like that little mentality. You know what I mean? Like, you won't be blindsiding me with your decisions. Like, you come here first, we'll talk about it. But I'd like to remain at this franchise for the duration of my contract until proven otherwise, right? Whatever it might be. So if that's the case, it means nothing. Literally, we see you like no trade clauses are skated around all the time, and we don't even know those players had no trade clauses, right? Like, you just figure it out. Yeah. But I'd be interested to know how hard they pushed and what the true verbiage is around it, because to me, that just tells me more about this 25-year-old kid who just seems mature way beyond his years.
Well, we know the 49ers like to put these outs in their contracts, right? And so along with that, I think the one sense of security that Purdy has and deserves to have in this contract is the no trade clause. Like, to your point, it's like, okay, yeah, you have outs, but you can't just trade me out of nowhere and me not be involved in that decision. So that's
You're not
pretty
trading
much
me to the Cleveland Browns without me knowing about it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's got to be something I'm okay with as well. So good for him. Good for his representation to have that in there. I could care less about it. I'd be surprised if it gets to that in the first 3 years anyway.
Let's not let our mind go to that place, right? Like, we're supposed to be happy. Let's
be happy. I like this comment from Rob. He says, the saying in negotiations, both sides should feel like they won. This is the epitome of that. Absolutely. And not just both sides in the NFL and negotiations, three sides, because the fans feel like they won as well in this one. I don't think there's many people, if anyone, like really upset about this one.
No. I saw something crazy, Steph. Somebody posted it on probably Twitter. I mean, that's really the only social that I like scroll in relation to Brock's contract and I don't want to misquote it. I probably will, but I think I'm pretty accurate. It's something along the lines like he's made like $6 million in his NFL career to date, and he's going to make more than $7 million a week under his new contract.
Good for him.
Crazy, you know.
I know. What is he going to do with all that money? You know, it's like
something good. You know that, right?
Good.
Like,
I know.
Whatever church his parents attend regularly, they're about to upgrade the hell out of that.
The offerings are going to go crazy. The offerings are going to go crazy at that church.
Can I get an amen in there? Is what it's going to be about. It's going to be fan. I want to go. I want to go the day they announce.
Yeah, that congregation is going to be real happy. But yes, good for Brock. Obviously, he's a good kid. You know, and we're happy that he's the 49ers quarterback, and we're happy he's going to be staying the 49ers quarterback for, you know, the foreseeable future. Weston, I think this move and it being done so early, like we said, along with the Fred Warner contract, along with the George Kittle contract, to me is everything Right. Like if last year's offseason was the offseason from hell, this sure is feeling like the offseason from heaven.
No doubt.
To stay on that same church note, I guess.
Praise Jesus.
Why are we here? How did we get here?
I love those church getting the Purdy views. That's classic, Rob. But I can't. You know what, Steph? It's hard. Like, I think an outside fan base would be like, settle down, folks. You know what I mean? Like, not really that big of a splash of an offseason for the team. They'd want to temper your expectations. But I think you hit the nail right on the head. Like, in comparison to last season, and not just last season, last offseason as well, and what was a slog. Do you remember those Mondays we'd spend together just agonizing over awful. Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams, which we have to talk about in a little bit anyway. Just things that way, it was just miserable. It was like, literally, I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore, because it was just that, like, rinse and repeat the agony, you know? And
the morale was low.
I think, for sure. And I think what smart businesses do, and always never forget, the San Francisco 49ers are a business first, even though they're the franchise that we love so much. Smart businesses, they act quick, right? And sometimes knee jerk, because it is required. And the knee jerk around this was like, yo, not a good hire at defensive coordinator. Special teams is killing us. Who do we bring back? Who did we pay that in our eyes, right, wrong, or indifferent, in our eyes as an organization, weren't living up to the billing of that contract? We know what we have on the table in terms of potential to extend the core, right? We have the quarterback situation looming. How do we make all of that feasible but still be competitive? Oh, we have 11 draft picks. Let's go invest in this football team right now and make those picks and have a little bit of youth movement. Like, that's a purge. This is what Fortune 500 companies do. People, pay attention. They get rid of the people who make a lot of money, right? And they go find people that can pay a third of that money that can still drive that revenue back. Like, turn on the news. It's happening everywhere. The San Francisco 49ers is a business no different. But in comparison to last season, to this season, yeah, like, what a breath of fresh air. Like, nothing feels like it's dragging, right, for the most part. Getting out ahead of it, you know, brought back Robert Saleh, who arguably was the most popular coordinator in, like, franchise history, right, of the San Francisco 49ers. And you bring him back to reinvigorate this defense. You give him all this youth. You know what's intact. Mina Kimes said it best, right? I don't know if you saw this one where she talked about, where she was talking about Fabio, my guy. Good to hear from you, bud. I missed him on Monday. I feel like I haven't seen him.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, at least since he's commented, right? But in any case, Mina Kimes was mentioning about how, like, as bad as the 49ers really were last year, and as injured as they were, especially on the offensive side of the ball, DVOA, they were still 9th in the National Football League.
Crazy.
Right? Like, you still got Kyle Shanahan. You still have these weapons that are coming back and that you've extended. You could breathe a little bit easier because the quarterback's paid. It's hard to just not be excited. And I mentioned earlier about the 3-year consistency, right? Like, all this money for Kittle, for Brock, for Warner appears in this next 3 years. To me, that's the window, right? Like, Jed York is basically being like, to me, he's like, I'll keep this open. This is your timeline, right? Like, this is literally your timeline before we might have to make hard decisions again, which means, contrary to popular belief, when we saw the mass exodus early and not a lot of new names coming in free agency, is like, this team just going to tank, right? I mean, that was the talk, Steph, like they're tanking in 2025, and doesn't feel like that right now as of May 19th.
When you mention, you know, last year and how difficult that was, even from a fan standpoint, and, you know, me chiming in and saying the morale was so low. Yeah, we were not excited really for team that just lost the Super Bowl. Can you imagine the players? Like, they were not excited for the season, and it's not like the team was giving them anything to be excited for, like, or us excited for. And so it just feels like a complete 180 from that, as my dad says, right? Day and night difference from the last couple of years. And understanding immediately like the shortcomings of the previous year and wanting to rectify that immediately. I mean, yes, to list this out, and shout out to Coach Yak for posting this. He posted this after the Brock Purdy extension, and I made a little update because now we have an extended Fred Warner here, but he listed out. First, they got rid of Nick Sorensen. They got rid of Brian Schneider, right? Two big issues for this team. For one, the defense has been an issue for like the 2 previous years, right? And Nick Sorensen was just, the latest there. Brian Schneider has been an issue for as long as he's been here. Robert Saleh, so the Robert Saleh thing feels like the turning point because, Weston, do you remember how stressful that was?
Yeah.
The team waited. They had
hung
their
on
eyes.
for him.
That was it. And if that didn't work out, we may be looking at a completely different offseason. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like that, their entire offseason, I don't want to say the entire offseason, but a lot of the offseason and what it is right now, I think if Saleh if they weren't able to close out one, that could have been bad. But it worked out for them. They got Saleh. Obviously huge win. That already boosted the morale a whole lot. And the vibes just shooting through the roof, for all of us. They also hired Brant Boyer. He's a pretty good special teams coordinator. So we're hoping for good things there. We'll see how that turns out. But they extended Brock Purdy. They extended George Kittle, extended Fred Warner. Via the draft, they addressed one of their biggest issues, which was run defense. And the defense in general, right? But the run defense was so bad, and bringing in 20 rookies and a good number of those, with the intention of improving the run defense, I think is a huge deal. And we go back to special teams as well. They've added 2 kickers. Competition for Jake Moody. Everyone wanted to see that. I thought that was funny that this is on this list as well, but
it's true though.
It's true. It was needed.
You got to make the team is the way that I feel like they're positioning it right now.
For everyone.
What I think is overlooked, Steph, that like I'm big on like the mental games that coaches play and in like just around all sports, right? I don't really think it's a coincidence that you have it right here in the slide, right? Like added close to 20 rookies. And we've talked ad nauseum since the draft how a lot of them are going to get an opportunity to see field right out of the gate. You think it's a coincidence that all these big-time players just happen to sign all their extensions and their contracts like while the rookies are like in-house and front and center and working with the team, etc.? Little extra motivation. I'm sure things were celebrated. I'm sure they got to see red carpets rolled out at 4949 Santa Clara Boulevard. You know what I mean? Like they just get to see these is that a little extra motivation for these rooks who are about to break into this league?
Right?
Like you got to play the head games, right? Like you have to, again, build momentum and excitement around your franchise, period, point blank. I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence that they're all getting done like right now, fresh off the rookie camps, etc. Like, so all eyes are watching. And here's what they're saying. You behave the way that we expect, meaning like show up, consistent effort, consistent attitude, when you're a kid and everybody would tell you, behave like somebody's always watching, like doesn't George Kittle feel like that? Doesn't Fred Warner feel like that? Doesn't Brock Purdy feel like that? Like this is the behavior we will reward. You're 21 years old right now, and you're seeing this path paved before you. Go follow. And someday soon, we'll be handing you $160 million over the first 3 years of your contract. You know what I mean? Like, I just, it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence is what I'm saying.
Well, that's what's so great about the 49ers rewarding their cornerstone players. Like, yeah, it shows everyone else on the team, like what you're saying, that, hey, if you follow these same steps, or not so much same steps, but just like follow their example, like, yeah, you could be paid just like that as well. And also a lot of these guys were not high draft picks.
No, they weren't.
Like none of them were.
No, Mr. Irrelevant, fifth round, third round.
But yeah, I mean, No, not at all. So I think that also should serve as a huge motivation for a lot of these guys. But as you were talking, Weston, you reminded me of the big point I wanted to make about what I noticed all these three guys, Purdy, Kittle, and Warner, have in common in getting these deals done this offseason is that they all showed up to the voluntary portion of the offseason program. The 49ers would love it if every player, showed up to the voluntary offseason program. As we know, that doesn't always happen, right? But I think they also want to set that precedent that, hey, if you come in, and it doesn't have to be this early in the season, could just be training camp, could be OTAs, whatever.
Yep.
But if you come in and show that good faith, we can get this done and hash this out a lot quicker than if you are away and try to make this difficult.
Yep.
So I think that might be also one of the things that they want to make the norm going forward with some of these deals is that, hey, we can get this done, but you know how they're always putting that balls in their court.
Yeah. Pass the buck. We call that pass the buck. Nobody wants to take the blame, right? Nobody wants to admit
So
they're at fault.
The 49ers do that a lot, but
they're the heavyweight champions at passing the buck, but apparently not this season. You know what I mean? Like they're starting to right the ship just a little bit.
But at the same time, those players showed up. So it's like they're playing it exactly the way that the 49ers would want them to.
Well, they know they've been here. That's you know what I mean? Like outside of Brock, right? I mean, he's been here. He's seen this go down for other players, but Kittle since what, 18 or 17, Fred Warner in 18, or were they the same draft? They were the same draft, right? Were they both 17? They were both 2017. Like, no excuses. Like they know what is expected of them, and they probably knew how to get this done and get this done early. But yeah, I love that they're at camp. Again, I'm just gonna say not a coincidence, right? Listen, we always say it's a business first. If George Kittle's camp and Fred Warner's camp and Brock Purdy's camp explain to their players that, like, guys, we are not even close, right, to the other side, they would not be at camp. There's no reason for them to be at camp. You know what I mean? So what does that tell me? I wouldn't risk injury. Are you out of your mind? Like, you know what I mean? Like you have such a short shelf life in this league. And I wouldn't fault, as a fan, I'd be pissed, but I wouldn't fault them for that because that's exactly what I would do. I just think, to me, the bigger thing here is just whether we know it or not, whatever, has been leaked, clearly, Steph, for it to get done this early, this easily almost, there's been clear communication from the team to the players and their representatives. That's all you can ask for in a contract negotiation, right? It's just clear communication, a clear line as to where you stand, not all this ambiguity, which is what we saw at Brandon Ayuk last year, right? Like every week we're just a new guess. He's traded or he's going to be cut or, you know what I mean? Like we had no idea. We're just throwing darts at a dartboard and like talking about where the dart landed. A lot more clarity around this process, and it feels nice. It's refreshing. I don't know what else to say.
And that's what I'm saying. I think that these players being in the building does help speed the process along for these contracts. And hey, they better not get back to their bad habits, because now we know. Now
there's
we
an
know
expectation now.
There's an expectation.
Yep.
You can get this done quick before training camp.
But we always knew you could. They just never seemingly did. You know what I mean? Like we've seen examples.
We came to expect that contract negotiations would just drag into training camp.
Yeah.
We came to expect that because that was just the reality for, several years.
And they didn't have to take low ball offers either to get it done early as players, right? I think it sends a sign like, hey, we're fair. We have asks of you. You have asks of us. If we can meet, then everybody's happy, right? Like everybody's going to get paid. And we all talk, they don't want to spend any money. They don't want to do any of that. They literally just paid the highest paid linebacker in National Football League and the highest paid tight end in the National Football League for the second time each, right? Like,
right, yeah.
They're not being cheap. They're being
Smart.
diligent
They're being
in where
smart
they
with their
want to
money.
spend the money. Exactly.
Yeah. And I like the comparison you made to it's a business. Like every Fortune 500 company, Jed York as the CEO or owner of this team is going to go through that process every few years of, hey, where can I cut the dead weight?
Yeah.
Every few years, like that's going to happen. It happened this year, and now we're seeing the rebuilding of dishing out cash to the guys who deserve it. So yeah, that's fine. But Nolly had this comment here that I wanted to highlight. It made me chuckle. It says, everyone that's like, the deal is a bad idea because Brock's only good because of Shanahan. Well, besties, I have something to tell you about who his head coach will be over the duration of his deal. I mean, yeah, honestly, like if Brock Purdy's only good because of Kyle Shanahan, guess who his head coach is? Like, seriously. I mean,
this is an elite use of besties, by the way, because it's substituting, hey, a-holes. You know what I mean? I have something to. So, Benali, props to you on the appropriate term there. But she's right. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you're going to say he's only good because of Kyle. Well, that is absolutely, barring some catastrophic incident, going to be the case, at least for the next 3 years, right? I do think there's an element of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's timeline being linked to this Brock Purdy extension in some capacity. And we'll talk about that over time. That's inevitable. But it's also times out perfectly, right? They're entering season 9. So you're talking about entering season 11 or 12. Most GMs and head coaches don't last that long in the National Football League. They just don't. So that would make sense. But yeah, Steph, by all accounts, this has been a really smooth off. I think my one concern is still like, what the hell's going on with Trent Williams?
Because he's.
But I'm literally have an article up right here that says like, oh, he showed up to show the Rooks how to do the 49ers, but nobody can validate that. Like not a single person can validate that he was in-house. And then you see them being a little aggressive in free agency for some, I don't want to say aggressive in free agency, recently exploring tackles like post-draft when they could have been looking at some tackles like in the draft. This is just always, if I had to nitpick, that's just still my lingering concern is I just still have this gut feeling that Trent doesn't play. He retires like right before camp. Like I can't help but shake that. And I'm not trying to rain on everybody's excitement right now.
Well,
I just have that gut.
Did.
I know. I just boop, boop. This all got
great episode. We were having phenomenal vibes. What the hell, man?
We're still vibing. We don't need you, Big Trent. I love you, Trent.
Yeah, we don't need Trent. We're fine. It's okay. Well, like if it's any solace though, like he doesn't normally.
No, he normally doesn't. I just think like, come on.
Everyone else did though.
We're jaded. You know what I mean? We like have trained ourselves in the offseason that we actually can't have nice things. And a lot of things are going well right now. Like Fabio would agree with me on this. When does the other shoe drop? Right? Like
yes,
when does the other shoe drop? That's what I'm waiting on.
That's what 100%. You're waiting on.
100%.
That's so sad that we've been conditioned.
Is that terrible?
To do that. But I mean, you're not wrong. Like, would it help if I told you that the one bad thing this offseason already happened is the fact that they didn't re-sign Drake Greenlaw like that, or that already.
Is it bad that like lost in the last couple days? Like I forgot about Drake Greenlaw until this second.
Well, I think that tells you that the 49ers are doing good things
for sure.
Because it's made you forget about that stuff. But on the topic of Trent, in all seriousness, I think for now I'm going to, hold my fear of that because I would be lying if I said it hasn't crossed my mind that he could still, of course, retire at any point. Could be that Joe Staley situation where we didn't find out till like. What was it, like day 2 of the draft or something like that? Mm-hmm. We found out that he was going to be retiring. So the draft passed. The 49ers didn't address tackle. I think that tells, because don't you think there would be a bigger effort to get a tackle, like maybe even as high as that first pick.
You and I
if
talked
Trent
about
wasn't gonna-
that pre-draft. We said that could be telling if the pick was tackle at 11 and it felt like a reach.
Sure.
That might mean I still would have been fine with tackle at 11 because you
Although
have to have a,
Although Weston didn't John Lynch say that if it wasn't Michael Williams, it would have been an offensive player?
It
Doesn't
was,
that make you think maybe it could have been a tackle?
I think we'll find out week 2 because I think the Saints took that off the table. So we'll find out week 2 when we go down to New Orleans. But I think all the Trent aside, and listen, I give the man and his family went through the unimaginable last year, right? Like on top of playing through and being a professional athlete is not just taxing on the athlete. It is insanely taxing on the family. And by all accounts, Trent has a big family and he's a big family guy. You know what I mean? So I empathize with him. This is within his norm. I'm just skeptical. And I'm skeptical because I'm not too far removed from Trent's age. Yeah, it was a few years ago, but I know what life was like at that time where you just start to contemplate things a little bit differently. Like, you know what I mean? You start to think about the future more than the present. That's it. My own experience, I've never signed an NFL contract, but my own experience has me a little bit more skeptical around Trent. But hey, if I get an announcement next week about Trent is 100% in and he's in the building, boom, all bets are off, baby.
So you just need him in the building because like we've gotten like certain,
but nobody's confirmed it. It's like
he's just been asked about Trent, hasn't he? And he said like, yeah, like he's committed to playing, and we've gotten that like once or twice already, haven't we?
We have, but like
you need to see him.
I need video image of him walking by the Lombardi trophies in the main lobby of that office complex. Like that's what I think I need. Like I've seen articles that like Vic Bosa and Trent Williams are at 49ers offseason program to help teach the standard. But then nothing. You know what I mean? Like then like nothing. I don't know.
Well, we'll get it, Weston. Don't think positive thoughts.
Worst case, we have something at least to talk through for the next few weeks.
I don't care if we have something to talk about if what that thing is Trent Williams possibly retiring. Like, I don't want to talk about that.
All right. It's sad.
We're not putting that out into the universe.
You're right. You're right. That's my bad. I take it all back. You know what? This just in. Adam Schefter reports Trent Williams is in Santa Clara.
There we go.
We move on.
We move. All right. In all seriousness, though, a couple of other things to discuss. Minor details in the grand scheme of today's news, but 49ers did sign a veteran kicker to compete with Jake Moody. That would be Greg Joseph, who formerly played with the Jets and I believe some other teams as well. 8-year vet. It's going to be a 1-year deal for him, and he holds the NFL record for most game-winning field goals in a season. So, okay, does this move you at all, Weston? Like, is this going to be the guy that beats out Jake Moody in camp?
No. What moves me is, shout out Brett Tesler getting your name out there around your client, being like, anybody else needs representation, I'm here to help. That being said, no, this doesn't move me. Hey, let me be fair. What it tells me is there might be some seriousness around. I think Jake Moody has gotten a pass because of his draft status, right? So now it's more like, all right, dude, we can't have the last season and a half, right? Like we just can't have that. Right. So we'll give you every opportunity to go win this. But we got some veterans who've had some Greg Joseph, by all accounts, had a relatively successful NFL career. You know what I mean? Like he, yeah. And I'm just going to support whatever decision they make at this point with a new special teams coordinator, because it's probably not going to get any better, but it hopefully doesn't get any worse. And that's not fair on Jake too. Like, I mean, he's made some hell of kicks. It just feels like in the big time, in the big moments, and he's had some rough games that are really notable. And then you strap that to a 3rd-round draft pick status. Like that's tough to overcome for any player. You know what I mean?
Well, Brant Boyer, the 49ers' new special teams coordinator, when he spoke with the media earlier this month, Yeah, he spoke pretty highly of Jake
Yeah.
Moody. And I guess, like, could just be coach speak. Of course, maybe he does actually feel good about him. Like what he said is, I think that there isn't a special teams coach in this league that didn't have him rated number 1 coming out, which is fair. Like I think out of college, yeah, I'm sure every special teams coach had him ranked as the top kicker. But as we know, other circumstances in play now that he's been in the league a couple years now and hasn't all been, rainbows and butterflies for Jake Moody. So I guess we'll see how it plays out. For now, he says he expects him to be the kicker, and he said it all comes down to what happens in the preseason. So we'll see. As Rob in the comments points out, like Jake Moody's a good kicker in practice. Like he's nails in practice. Like we know that about him. That makes the evaluation tough, I think. But will he have a short leash when the season begins? I think that is what we'll see.
The reality is he's going to be the kicker, right? Like that's probably the reality. I agree with Rob. Like, by all accounts, he looks really good in practice. He's got a really big leg, right? And you can't teach that leg strength in terms of just giving your chance and your team a chance to put points on the board from 60 yards out. Like that's a big deal. You know what I mean? But I do think the in-season leash, I think part of bringing these people in is to keep them off the open market for the short term, right? Then you get closer to the season. Then you have a phone number you can dial if come week 2, week 3, all of a sudden, Moody's pushing right, pushing left, whatever it might be.
And but not only things it
This
could be
is
a
right
confidence
here,
builder.
yeah, for
It
sure.
absolutely can. If Jake Moody wins a competition, it will definitely do wonders for his confidence. We just hope that confidence shows up with him to a game. That's it.
For sure.
That's all we want to see.
For
That's all
sure.
we want to see. All right. Next thing is the 49ers announced today that tight end Brent Jones will be inducted to the San Francisco 49ers Hall of Fame. You're excited about this one, Weston?
Super excited. Brent Jones is
for sure.
For sure. Just a big part of my childhood, right? Those late 80s, early 90s San Francisco 49er team when, my fandom was coming to full fruition. True story. My wife and I were looking at pictures before I also came up here and she told me to spend more time on Brock, where we were talking about our 49er fandom. And there's a picture of her when she's probably like, 8 or 9 years old in bed and she's wrapped in her 49er blanket. And then there's pictures of me, same age, wrapped in my 49er blanket. And we don't even know each other. It was destiny. But like, that's the nostalgia I get when I think of names like Brent Jones. I think of Monday Night Football with Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf, which was the epitome of Monday Night Football. And it started at 9:00 on the East Coast back then, and loving that my parents would let me stay up as an 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kid to watch these games. Brent Jones is a man who just, when it came to playing football, he and Jay Novacek were the 2 best tight ends in the league at the time, maybe Mark Bavaro in there as well. And the Cowboys and the 49ers were the 2 best teams in the league. He is so symbolic around my childhood fandom of the San Francisco 49ers, and a guy who by all accounts did everything the right way on and off the field. I'm actually surprised that it's taken this long to get him into the Hall of Fame, the 49er Hall of Fame. Hell of a player. I just think of, like, I'm just like running through plays in my head that, like, it's funny what you forget and what you don't forget. And when I think of Brent Jones, I smile and I'm happy for him. I'm super excited.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I wonder what the process is internally to decide who becomes or who
Me and
gets
your dad need to
inducted
hang out,
with
by the way, dude. Like, tell me, Fabio, who agrees more on the show than you and I? I'm just saying it.
I'm gonna get a text later saying, Weston made a lot of good points today.
He's a smart man. I don't know what to tell you.
Shout out to my dad in the comments. One last thing, Weston. The schedule came out last week, and I didn't get to talk to you before or after that since then. So, did you have any like early predictions for the season? Because I know I do.
I just think right out of the gate. I mean, there's a few that are tricky. Like I love I love opening against a division rival or a division opponent. I just prefer that game to be home because it feels like that might counterbalance the inequity that is week 1 and the chaos that is week 1 in the National Football League. I don't have an exact, but I see 10. I see at least 10 wins here. That's the way I look at it. I see at least 10, if not 11. I also think it just depends. Like, I'm thinking about the Rams Thursday night game, and I didn't even look at who the Rams play the week before. Like, we're coming off a home game against the Jags, so it's not a big travel, but I always tend to favor the home team on a Thursday night game who doesn't have to travel at all. But who are they playing? Because that's not a long trip for us. I think there's there's going to be a trip up somewhere in there within the division. I think I'll go 11-6, Steph. That's where I'm at right now.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I went pretty optimistic, and on Friday with Wayne, we went game by game. He said 14-3. I said 13-4. So really optimistic. Obviously, it's a way too early prediction.
For sure.
Once we get closer to the season, we'll see how optimistic we're still feeling. We said it. The vibes are still high. So I was riding off of that.
Here's the reality. 11 wins is playoffs. 13 wins, 14 wins, that's 1 seed. You know what I mean? So, but I understand the point. The schedule is really favorable. It doesn't have all the miles that the schedules have had in years past where they, the coast to coast. I think they'll be all right. I agree with Rob here, who's in the comments. We haven't thrown up yet, just around the 2 division games in the first 3 weeks. Like, I like opening with 1, but I've always been a fan of like backloading the division, especially once that's your path to the playoffs, right? Is win your division. But it's hard for me to go from 6 to 13, right? In the swing of a year, knowing that the real only difference on this team is 2 coordinators and a whole bunch of unknowns in the rookie class that we are
excited about. It's not just that, though. You're getting McCaffrey back. You're hopefully getting, Trent Williams back too, although Weston has to actually see him right now.
I have to see him. I'm going to see him.
More like the Yeti or something. But
which, for the record, I believe in Bigfoot. So, Bigfoot. All right. Well, it's Yeti. It depends. It's different in every country, in every region. But so I'm trying to be optimistic about Trent.
So there you go. You believe in it. All right. So you believe in Trent playing this year. The offense will be a lot better just off of those 2 players alone. And as you said earlier, DVOA, they were 9th in DVOA, even with some of the players missing. Yeah. So that's incredible. The offense is going to carry this team because it has to this year. The defense, they're going to be in a better spot than they were last year just because of Robert Saleh alone. Like, I think that in itself is going to make this defense upgrade from the 2024 version. So yes, I do have a lot of optimism on them improving this year because they did a lot to get rid of the issues that they had last year. So yeah, I'm optimistic right now. Like I said, we get close to the season. We'll see if that still stands.
It's May 19th.
Way too early prediction. That's why we call them way too early predictions. But Weston, fun show today, man. Again, vibes incredibly high. Everyone in the live chat kept it rocking. Appreciate all of you. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Not just mine, but Weston's as well. Island 49. We've got great 49ers content. Although after these extensions, man, this offseason, I don't know what we're going to talk about, Weston. Like we said, we're going to have to make something up, but not literally. We don't do that here.
This is still the 49ers. They'll find something for us to do throughout the week.
They'll find something. Maybe Hard Knocks. I mean,
please. Are you for that? I am so against a Hard Knocks.
I'm indifferent. But you would still watch Weston. I bet you.
No, I wouldn't.
Would.
I don't think I would. I still haven't watched Receivers.
Why? Well, now you know how it ends. So
it's not even that I know how it ends. It's like I don't want to relive that. You know what I mean? Like that season. And like I like access to I'd rather just watch somebody else's team and talk a whole bunch of mess about their team. Like, oh, you're on Hard Knocks. Oh, you're falling apart. Oh, your GM is ridiculous trading Saquon Barkley away. You know what I mean? Like,
I think the curiosity would kill you, though.
It would destroy. Yeah, you're right.
You'd watch. All right.
But I'm a binge watcher. Like, I have to save it all up, and you all would spoil it on Twitter where I wouldn't even have to go watch it anyway. I'd have to delete my account for a week.
Of course, because I'd be like, Weston, like we're talking about Hard Knocks episode,
just
right?
Tagging me in every post about what happened.
Well, we'll see what happens there. For now, it's just rumors. But yeah, Weston, thank you so much for joining me today. As always on a Monday. Thanks to everyone that tuned in. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. But for now, have a good rest of your Monday, folks. Peace.